and Melody Stone didn't always know adoption was for them, but after a couple of miscarriages and a lot of prayer, they felt called to help and also fill that hole. Here to share their story, please welcome Samuel and Melody to the show, along with Car Taylor from Pathways for Little Feet, which is an organization that helps adoptive families. All right. Welcome, welcome. Okay, like so many couples deal with the fertility issue, and then I had a couple of miscarriages also. But the last thing you want to hear sometimes is, and you're about to cry right now because it's very emotional, that journey, isn't it? But sometimes the last thing you want to hear is, why don't you just adopt? But then it came to the point where adopting made sense for you too.
Yeah, it did. It was very painful going through miscarriages, and so God called us to adopt. He put in our hearts the desire and like a deposit of His own heart into our hearts for the fatherless and for orphans. And we actually thought that we would adopt someday, but we thought that might be further down the road. We didn't realize that it was a right now thing when God began to speak to us about adoption. And we actually were surprised when God's will was for us to adopt a 2.5-year-old and not an infant.
Yeah, right.
So that was a surprise as well.
A lot of times people
in our minds, we were thinking baby. But in God's mind and heart,
a lot of people also think baby that looks like them.
That's it.
Right?
Exactly.
And instead, you got this 2.5-year-old little African-American boy right here.
It's amazing.
And as you were saying in the commercial break, it's been the biggest blessing and the greatest joy so far.
Yeah, we just felt like somebody was missing in our family, and we just started praying and asking God to send us the kids that He had for us. And like really shortly after that, we met Isaiah, and we didn't even go looking for him. He pretty much came to us, and we just knew he was a fit from the beginning, and even had Samuel's middle name, which was really, really awesome. So we knew it was the Lord.
Because it came with the name already.
2.5,
right?
When we set our hearts to pray for God to send us the children that He had for us to adopt, how do you pick children? How do you know how can you pick?
Right.
It's just, it seems overwhelming. There's so many children in the world. How do you pick one? So we really just committed it to prayer and asked God to send us the children that He had for us to adopt.
Yeah.
And not long after that, the way it all happened was, God spoke the same thing to Melody. I had an encounter in the prayer center one day where God really spoke to my heart, and I said, yes, Lord, if this is your will for us, I say yes. I told Melody a little bit about it, and then she one day had an experience where she realized that someone was missing. She was out jogging one morning, and there was an empty carrier on the back of a bicycle, and she called me and she says, you're not going to believe this, somebody's missing. I feel like we're supposed to adopt. And that was our answer, that God was speaking to us about the same thing.
There are so many issues right now across the country dealing with race. And I think this is one of those things that helps us to fix that eventually. And that is that you see not somebody of a different color, you see a child who needs your love.
Absolutely. You bet. Absolutely.
When people say, hey, we would like to adopt, then that's a whole nother process for a lot of folks. And I think a lot of people are scared of the process. So, Kerr, tell us about Pathways to Little Feet and how you make that process easier. When people walk in, how they can have a million questions and you can get an answer for them.
Right. Well, my wife and I had a similar experience as the Stones, and we adopted our child. And we discovered that there are 18 million children out there, orphans, who need a home. And so we came back and started spreading that word in Houston, and Houston just wrapped their arms around us, and we created Pathways for Little Feet, which is like a nonprofit bank that lends money to families like the Stones on an interest-free basis and allows them to make that adoption take place. It's financially difficult. And so we now have done over 400 children like Isaiah, who and God's blessed our ministry such that one child comes into a family every week now.
Wow.
And we provide financial assistance.
And that's the key right there. That's the other thing that stops a lot of people is they have in their mind it's going to be $1 billion to adopt this child. And we know there's lots of foreign adoptions, and a child is a child. I think it doesn't matter what geographic lines you have, but there are kids right here at home as well.
That's right.
Absolutely.
That's right. A third of our children are from the U.S. Almost 300 have come from orphanages around the world, 35 different countries. The heroes, in my mind, are the Stones. A family that are called to go take a child. They're not just looking for a son or daughter. They're looking to take a soul, a child, and turn his life or her life around 180 degrees.
Yeah.
There's nothing more powerful than for a child who's alone to have a mother and father suddenly come around them and change their life forever.
And the thing that you got to be prepared for is that if you aren't insisting on a blonde-haired, blue-eyed child, then a baby, newborn, like you said, just popped out, come get it, right? You got to be prepared for that phone call to happen at any moment, right?
Right.
Once you decide, take us through the process. You come in, obviously you got to check out who those parents are.
We are like a bank, so we look into the background. We want to be sure that they are going to be able to take care of Isaiah in a loving way. We look at their financial stewardship, and then we lend them up to $7,500 to really make that last step to bring their child home.
Yeah.
And then we partner with them through education and advocacy, as we're doing today, to speak about these children who tonight are without a mother and father.
Yeah. But they could be with one within the hour. All right,
right.
you have an upcoming event, because obviously this is expensive
Right.
to do. Little Plates for Little Feet, that's a cocktail reception, and so that's going to happen. You have live music, whole bet. That's Wednesday, November the 16th, 5:30 to 8 p.m. Something tells me it could go longer than 8 p.m. But at the Houstonian Hotel. So Little Plates for littlefeet.org if you would like to help. We talked about earlier how there are people who might not commit to adoption, but
Right.
you can help in so many other ways and help other people to adopt. All right, so for more information, log on to littleplatesforlittlefeet.org. Okay, now I'm going to say something very inappropriate right now. My son gave me such a tough time with homework last night. I'm wondering, can I do a trade-in program? Yeah, no, just joking, just joking, just joking. But thank you so much for what you do, and thank you all for raising this little one right here. Right, Isaiah? Yay!